Okay, can I get some messages in chat? Can you guys all hear me okay? Excellent. Who's tuned in? Give us a shout in the Minecraft server. Excellent. So, CubeCoders turned 10 today. It was 10 years ago that I actually set it up. It's I didn't really expect to be doing this for nearly as long as I have, but here we are. So we've got an update for AMP coming out a little bit later. I didn't really want to do it on the stream because Ice of Wraith would probably kill me if I did that. But yeah, so what I'm going to do is actually go through some of your AMA questions that you asked earlier. I'm just going to post this in news. 1 second. Okay. So first question was, are you going to add more SSO support or OAuth 2? And I think the answer is yes. I'm looking at kind of the best way to do that, but I definitely want to add, it wasn't OAuth, it was another SSO standard. But yes, I do want to expand the SSO support quite significantly, actually. Oh, by the way, if you've got any more questions for me, drop them in the Twitch chat. I will be keeping an eye on that. But it's nice to see at least a handful of people here to come and join in the festivities, even if people can't stop fighting amongst themselves. Someone asked what became of the bounty program, and the short answer is it actually kind of became unnecessary once the generic module got so fleshed out. The amount of work that was necessary for people to add support for new games made it kind of unnecessary. So yeah, it just kind of got obsoleted. It wasn't necessary. Whether or not I will hire another engineer is still another question. My wife Ashley is now on the company's payroll, and she's doing things like the social media and community management in places, and also, you know, spending frankly most of our day looking after our son. What other questions did we have? Any thoughts about different Newey themes? Well, you know, if you've, I don't know if any of you have been paying attention to the nightly builds or the experimental builds, but we do have a new, very sexy kind of anniversary theme. In fact, if I just pull that into the stream 1 second. There we go. So it's all lovely and purple and sexy and a bit different from what I've had before. This release also has the much requested option to enable and disable your scheduled triggers. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with this release. Also made a few other changes to the file manager to make the icons look a little nicer. What else have we got? Let's pull that away. Oh yeah, and if you didn't notice, the fireworks display that you're seeing are actually driven by AMP's scheduler. So I was pretty pleased with that. I actually wrote some code in C# to generate firework displays, very rudimentary ones. So I may revisit that because it was kind of cool. To make them all run in sync and everything. What other questions did we have here? Is there any plan to integrate a system to detach instances when updating so that a game server can continue to run while an upgrade is in progress? Possibly, I don't know. I don't really know what the right way to go about that is. It would make things a lot more complicated if you allowed for the application to keep running independently of AMP, because you can't detach a process whose input and output is redirected. So kind of not sure what's going to happen in that regard. More likely is that there will be a smoother way to apply updates gradually over time. So you'll be able to say, hey, you know, when this game server is going down for maintenance anyway for some other reason, then update AMP. And going forward, I actually want to reduce the frequency of AMP updates, especially once there's a couple of features that kind of need a bit of work before I can do another long-term support build. But I want to avoid having to update AMP so often, or perhaps add a system where individual AMP components can be reloaded on the fly without having to actually restart AMP. What about translations? So again, in translations, there's actually a surprising amount of work because I didn't originally build AMP with a view to how you localize something like that. Localization is like one of the real big difficult things to do when you're making software. So I don't really know what's happening there. I'll probably come up with something, but oh, and you might notice, by the way, that I avoided making a mistake I made last time I did any kind of video, and my logo is actually the correct way around this time. What else have we got? Are there any plans to implement a CMS module that can be used for hosting web pages? Not really. I suppose you technically could, but not really what AMP is for. There is a plan to add kind of service instances. So these are instances for things like databases and the like that are basically just running in Docker containers. And it's just going to fire up. Is it adminer or adminer? I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce it. But yeah, just a MariaDB instance with an interface pre-configured with a password. And just give you that, really. I don't really see the need to make it any more complicated than that. Are there any plans for kind of a developer app store? That's really something I'd like to do. That the Discord bot module already exists. Actually, someone made one. It's I forget what it's called, Core Keeper or something like that. But that's just an option in the yeah. What I said, the generic module already handles Discord bots. What I do want to make is a generic config for. It would be called a Discord bot config in general, because people keep asking how do you run, because it's just how do I start a Discord bot, because you're just starting Node.js for most of them, right? And you just have to tell Node which file it is. Not really that great because I don't know. I want to think about that. Should I just be telling people use generic and figure it out, or don't know? What module is the most popular? I actually don't have any metrics on that. AMP doesn't collect any information right now on that kind of thing, so I actually have no idea. Why are the updates called Triton and Halimede? So those are actually AMP's code names, apart from this current one, which is Decadius, as in decade as in 10 years. Is named after orbital bodies, after moons of planets. So it's the moons of Jupiter and Saturn and the like. Google Drive for backups, not really going to happen. It's not really the right tool for it. The nice thing about implementing S3 support, when I implemented it, I'd been kind of dragging my heels on it because I didn't really want to do it, but the benefit of S3 support is you don't implement a specific provider. You can support lots of different S3 compatible providers with one load of work. So it made sense to do that. And I still want to refine the support for S3 a bit to make it automatically manage how many backups are kept. Oh yeah, no, their driver removing the unlimited storage option. So is there any plan to allow each instance to have its own subdomain? Yeah, actually, that is something I want to do. So you can just do, instance name dot amp dot example.com, as the person said. It's definitely doable. So I want to look into something like that. Are there any plans for incremental backups? Yes, it's something I've been mulling over for quite some time. The idea that you just back up what's changed since the last one. And when you restore a backup, it'll ask you, do you just want to restore this bit, or do you want to restore every backup up the chain? But what I really want to do, though, is change. I want to stop calling them backups and call them snapshots, because that's what I think is more useful to people, right? The idea that it is a complete state of the entire system. The problem with that is it's a lot of storage. The thing about backups, of course, is you can tell it, include this, don't include that, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that was pretty much everything. So let's have a look at some of the questions. Yeah, post more questions in the Twitch chat if you haven't already. Anything you'd like to know? Oh, Isa Wraith asked, where did my nickname come from? So basically, it started a really long time ago, actually. And I was using a piece of software called Kylera, which was a multiplayer client for game emulators. So you could play like Sega Genesis and Sega Mega Drive and SNES games with other people across the internet. And I was playing one of the Sonic games with random people, and I just decided on Phonic Sonic, just replacing the S with a PH. And then the phonic bit stayed. And for a while it was Phonica, Phonica. And I had that for quite a while. But the problem was some guy once just pronounced it as Phoenicia. It was like that. Yeah, so I didn't much like that. So I didn't like it getting pronounced wrong. So I changed it to Phonic UK, and that kind of stuck. Can we use Active Directory for AMP login into AMP systems on Linux? Yes, although it's a bit hit and miss. But yes, you can absolutely use Active Directory to log into AMP on Linux systems. The only requirement being, of course, that you've got Network Edition or higher. Pro doesn't have single sign-on. Raya says NFS SMB CIF support for backups would be great. Well, you've already got that because AMP can be told to back up to anywhere you can mount. So you mount your network share as a directory and tell AMP to store its backups there, and boom, you're done. Super one is asking about SQL support, and the answer is no, it's not implemented. Like I said, I want it to, AMP's going to get what's called service instances, which are just based on just Docker images that AMP will have some metadata to know about what ports and everything it's using and how to set that up and how to give it login details and such. Yeah, it's been a really interesting few years. I got to show you guys some pictures actually, because I ordered a cake in the shape of the CubeCoders logo. See if I can get some pictures of that up. So let's just drag in an image. There we go. That is the CubeCoders logo as a cake. Yep, that's it. Yeah, it's quite a nice red velvet cake inside. There you go. So I was really pleased with that actually. I had that custom made from a local bakery. And it is far too big. Like, Ashley and I are going to take quite some time to eat that. But yeah, really pleased with that. And the other thing I want to do actually is implement my own plugin repository, because I really don't like a lot of the ones that are out there right now. They're really just a bit rubbish. I want to make one that is specifically for integrating into other applications. Yeah, and the way it'll work is developers will be able to upload their plugins. There will be an official client for it, and there'll be an official way for developers' applications to get an API key to integrate it into their applications. Because it wouldn't just be for Minecraft, right? It'd be for other games. It'd just be a general server mod database, not a client-side one, you know? That would again understand dependencies and the like, and versioning. You want some bread? Oh, I just ate some cake. There you go. Well, so what's going to happen now is we're going to start playing, right? So if you give me a moment, I'm going to make some changes. And I've got to opt myself again. Right. So let's turn off the time hold. Have at it, bitches. Anyone still got? Oh no. I have no idea what I'm doing at this point, really. Marlas, what are some of these strengths of AMP as opposed to other paid-for alternatives? Well, the only other real paid-for one is Multicraft, and that's like really just Minecraft. Their support for games other than Minecraft is it's kind of super hacked in. Um, yeah, some of the other ones are basically just modified versions of Terrible Dactyl that they've kind of turned into a service. What's my home server setup? Oh man, so up in the loft, it's actually getting on a bit now. I need to modernize it a bit. It's a 16 core Threadripper 1950X, so the first generation Threadripper, and that thing's got 128 gig of RAM, and that thing's running Hyper-V, and that's got all of my VMs on it for things like my domain controller and build servers and all of that funkiness. Um, and then the live servers are fairly beefy OVH servers that are running the Epic 7160s, I think it is. Again, 16 cores. And then my workstation that I'm on right now, again, is a Ryzen 5950X, 16 cores with 128 gig of RAM. And this thing actually has, I think it's 3 NVMe drives in it. One of the really weird cards I've got in my machine actually is a single PCI Express card, but it has on it 10 gigabit Ethernet and 2 NVMe slots. So it's a single card that gives you network and adds extra storage to your system. How much of AMP is running on Starlink? Almost none of it. Basically, some of the bots and a few other little bits are running on that, but nothing you guys ever interact with comes from the goes via Starlink. Yeah, it is a wacky card actually. Let me see if I can find the find a picture of it. It's the most bizarre thing. Yeah, here we go. Let me just pull that up on the stream real quick. Image. So it's this thing. So as you can see, you've got 2 NVMe slots there, and then you've got a 10 gigabit Ethernet jack. So it's actually by who's it by? It's by Synology, and it's for putting into one of their NAS products as a way of getting more I/O into it. But it's just a standard card, so it works on just any regular system as long as the motherboard supports PCI Express bifurcation, which not all of them do. But if it does, then hey, you're in luck. Because the problem I had before was I wanted 10 gigabit Ethernet, but I didn't want to use up one of my long 16x slots just for that. Because I was like, oh, well, I might want to add more NVMe storage that way at some point. And nobody makes right now a 10 gigabit PCI Express card in a 1x slot, which I've got spare. Even though at Gen 4 speeds, you've got enough bandwidth to do that, nobody makes it. The closest I could find was a 5 gigabit card, and I bought that, but unfortunately the switch I've got won't negotiate at 5 gigabits. It'll only negotiate at 1 or 10, which is a bit of a pain in the ass. So if I wanted to get decent speeds, I had to go full 10 gigabit and do it that way. Yeah, I really want a VPN of some description. I'm not quite sure on the configuration of it to get around having CGNet. Although Starlink does support IPv6 these days, and they are publicly routable IPv6 addresses. So it may well be possible to just kind of skip that entirely. What I'm going to do, actually. Everybody in the hole. The only problem with being an op is you constantly get feeds about bloody spawned objects. Let's turn that off. The thing is, this is how I was doing the fireworks. You see, I just I abused Amp's scheduler to just, yeah. It's a long ass schedule. I'm now kind of realizing some of the limits as well. Like this is a bit kind of unusable. Maybe the yeah, maybe I need to make the schedule trigger contents. Let's try that. Let's give it a max height overflow y auto. There we go. Yeah, what do we think? If you're looking in chat, if you're looking in Twitch, of limiting the height of the scheduled tasks and making the content scrollable. Yeah, it's a nice theme, isn't it? Spent just an afternoon on that. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. The other thing I want to experiment with as well, is that going to work well on mobile if you do? I don't see why not. That could cause problems actually, but we'll I can make it just not do that on mobile and make it only do it on desktop. Or make very long ones collapsible in some way. The other thing I want to do is when you've got instances open, I want to allow you to have multiple instances open within the same browser tab, with either a row of tabs along the front, so just re-implementing the browser tabs essentially, but as a quicker way of switching around, or with a drop-down list. So maybe when you click on that, return to instances, maybe that's a button that lets you switch instances. I mean, the thing is that instant switching is a lot faster than it used to be. That used to take a second or two longer. Now I can jump around fairly fast. But it still takes a second, right? And if you want to copy and paste settings and that, it's a little bit of a pain. Oh yeah, sure. So can I demonstrate the if condition met scheduler? Because I did do some work on that. So if we go back to, where's my lobby? So if I add a trigger, event trigger, and let's do player sends a chat message, and then add to that if, where's the if? If condition is met, value to check, message contains fudge. Strike a player with lightning. There you go. Who's going to say it? I'm going to go back to the top side. But of course, you will note that it doesn't... I've turned it off. It doesn't work if you say something else. So the if condition is met is actually working much better. The other operation I should add, actually, come to think of it, is because equals not equals contain does not contain. If I added matches regex, that would be kind of cool. It would have to have a certain amount of tolerance for the fact that most people cannot write regexes. Yeah, right. So here's a good example of what I could do actually. Is if I get rid of these, if a condition is met, user equals phonic UK. If a condition is met, value set message is op me. There we go. Now if I go dop like that, dop me. Now if I say balls, oh, did I disable it? I left it disabled. There we go. There we go. Hey. So we can actually do something cool with that. The other thing I can do is where was it? Does it work like that? Okay. Oh, here we go. So it's execute at attacker run summon Minecraft chicken. There you go. Now, if you kill somebody, a chicken spawns. And there's the chicken. Infinite supply of chickens. And there's cake. And cherry cola. Oh, here's a fun thought. So if we do an event trigger, player commits suicide. Here we go. If condition is met, method contains fell. Let's do something stupid. Send console to Minecraft server. Oh, I don't know. Give user Minecraft. Need to add a wait in there actually to give you time to respawn. Oh, that's an interesting idea. Hold on. Right, everybody get the frick to the middle. Right. So don't go outside the world border for a second. And then every time player is killed by another player, world border add 10. Of course, I could just as well set that to add -10. No one going to do anything about what? That's kind of interesting, actually. I never really considered that using AMP, you can do things to the world border. You guys are a bit stuck. Oh, shit. What happens when the world border is 0? So that's a thing. Yeah, I don't trust whoever does that to not use a modded client or whatever. So new. What I am going to do though is turn the fireworks back on because they're cool. What I might do is just quickly spin up one of my other servers because one of the I was saying on Discord the other day I was playing around with using ChatGPT to write Minecraft plugins, and I had it write one for me that if you are stood out in direct sunlight will set you on fire and eventually kill you. So you have to do all of your mining and everything you do underground, or only come up above ground, carefully and sporadically. The thing I wish about the world border actually is I wish the world border wasn't visible until you were closer to it. There's no real need to be able to see it. Because if it's 500 away, you can't see it. And here you definitely can. Because at 450, oh no, you can't see it at 450 either. Thing is, this plugin I was playing with, I haven't tested it at all. I've compiled it, but I've not tested it at all. And I do not want to hear any jokes from ICE. I actually have a Stream Deck. No, you don't need any special. I think you can just sign up these days. When I originally signed up with a company account. I like this kind of mesa here. Oh, well. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I also don't know how this got damaged. Right, what I'm going to do is right, we are now playing normally. So if you want to do anything, you will actually have to go and start mining and hunting trees and everything. My other server up? Let's just quickly... before I let you guys anywhere near it. Yeah, okay. I think that one's running an outdated thing, so let's update that first. 119.3. Nope, that's available. Okay, you guys can see the address in the stream then. So I want to see you all come over to the other server. Same address, just one port higher up. Any design goals I'd like to point out? Ease of use is the big one. It's just like one command to install LAMP. Superior is the first one to actually show up. No, this isn't paper. I think this is actually the vanilla server. You are going to need a minecart. See if you can find where the track is and get yourself over to the other side. I think there's a break in the tracks that I quickly need to fix. I've completely forgotten how you get out of a... There we go. There we go. All right, let's give you a little push. What's the name of the boosted rail? Powered rail. There we go. Yes, I know this. Oh, he's going back from where he came. There we go. Now the port number was just 25566 for this server, as opposed to the main one. The IP, the address is just anniversary.instaban.com. I've actually used this world as well in one of the adverts. Yeah, this is the world that Ashley and I play on. I had the good sense to take a backup before inviting you guys here. Yes, this is actually my personal Minecraft server for just playing on. What do you think? going to teleport everybody to me, actually. A second. There we go. You're all underwater. I love building stuff underwater. There is something uniquely satisfying about it. Also, I'm going to do time set day. There we go. If you're looking on the stream, you can see my shaders and everything. It's really funky looking. I did. I said earlier that I had the good sense to make a backup before inviting you guys onto my personal server. What I want to do is I want to make pre-made world where everything is underwater, but also has caves that aren't somehow. But I don't know how you'd go about doing that. Oh, no idea how many on this world. Yeah, lots of gravel, lots of sand. Yeah, what you'd have to make, yeah, an underwater world where the caves aren't underwater. One of the other problems as well is that Minecraft doesn't cope very well with spawn points that are underground. For some reason, it likes you to have a lot of space over your head. I'm sure there's some plugin to deal with that. But there must be some way to make a decently challenging experience based on around the idea that there's maybe only a handful of above ground islands whose sole purpose is to give trees a place to grow. And everything else has to be done underwater. Mining underwater is slow, though. So I don't know. What I'd really like is something where it's like a flooded world. You know? I am stuck. Uh-oh. Yeah, kind of. I got to keep an eye out on how much disk space I got left. Oh, 373 gig. I think I'll be fine. Yeah, I mean, I don't really get to actually play Minecraft much these days, or any game for that matter. Ooh. I always love how when you've got lots of slopes like this, placing a block of water just for a moment can last for friggin' ages as it makes its way down. I have to turn the brightness up. I've already got the brightness up maximum. Okay. See, look how much you can do with just one block of water. It is funny the way it just seems to find water. Look at that. Yes, it is, so please don't set too much fire. I mean, I do have a backup, obviously, but... Lol. So Mob, the friends and family stuff is basically one of the rules of Network Edition is you're not allowed to use it to act like a server host, even if you're not actually charging for it. But some people do just want to give their friends and family a server that they host and act like a host. So Network Edition, the friends and family provision was a way to allow for that. So you can actually just say, hey, you know what, this is your server, belongs to you, you manage it, which you're not normally allowed to do. Because otherwise people will buy one copy of Pro, divvy it out between 5 people and call it a day. Mm. It's 9:15, so I should probably release this update. Well, the other Minecraft server rogue is public actually. It's got fairly wide spawn protection on, but we could go back over there and I will just get rid of the border. And you guys can just treat it like a normal vanilla server. That's the interesting question, Ice, and one I've never really been able to come up with a good answer for. Um, I think that it basically comes down to what level of access do they have. Are they just like a moderator? Then you don't really need to, then it's kind of okay. But if they are able to do things like completely change how much memory the server has, or is otherwise more like an administrator, that's probably the point at which you need to be using the friends and family licenses. I don't quite follow you there, Marl, what you said. Yeah, we're talking about game server process instances. So it's like you've got 50 in total, 10 of which can be managed by friends and family. There's no such thing as a server instance. Water elevators are fun. Where's my boat? Ah. This was why I built this place like this, is it makes it hard for mobs to get here. No, you can use all 50. I mean, you can only give 10 of them to anybody else anyway. In practice, very few people get even remotely close to using 50 Minecraft instances. I think they buy it because it's like a good value, but without ever really coming close to taking advantage of it, you know? Yeah, I'm glad you guys liked it. I was hoping you'd have a few more people, but part of the problem actually is, of course, that for the Americans, it's a lot of them will still be at work and the like, or at a school or whatever. But of course, I can't be doing these events at 2 in the morning. My wife would kill me. Ah, well, I did not know that. For reasons I would hope are somewhat obvious. Hey, I'm going to do a Wallace and Gromit. I think very few people have like the computational horsepower and resources to run 33. No, the physical virtual machines don't count in any way. The only thing that matters is the number of game instances. I actually deliberately didn't want to do it by the machine because if you do it by the machine, then of course hosts who use it have an incentive to oversell and pack the machines through as many servers as they can, as if they don't have enough of an incentive to do that, purely to get around the licensing requirements, which you don't really want. You want them to kind of spread things out. Because one of the things I've been kind of deliberately pushing things in the direction of is making sure that the various other popular options that are available are seen as what the summer hosts use, right? Because they're free or very, very cheap. And making sure that AMP is seen as like the premium option for high quality hosts who don't mind spending a bit of money, who actually have proper resources. And so far, that seems to be working quite well. I've even on more than one occasion told some kid who was clearly going to be a summer host, look, maybe you want to consider this terrible alternative instead. The one that's just a Docker front end with a fancy interface on top. How many people are actually in the stream anyway? How do I see that? Oh, really? That's more than I was expecting. Echo. Let's mute that before it becomes a problem. Yeah, 25, including me. Well, I hope you're all following. God, why is the stream only running at like 20 frames a second? I would like to stream a little more often, though. I don't know what kind of games I'd stream. I mean, my Steam library is just stupid, you know. If I had another window. Why is that not working? There we go. One thing I did think about was streaming those games I have that you can't buy anymore. Because there's a few in there like that. Horizon Zero Dawn is amazing. I've been playing the shit out of that on my Steam Deck. Or on my Steam Decks, rather. I have two Steam Decks. One is owned by the company and one's owned by me personally. I'm hoping Astro Colony is due to get dedicated servers. Which is kind of why I picked that up. And it's only a few days, actually, because we got... what's on my wish list? So there's some that are coming out in a few days. Yeah, Kerbal Space Program 2 comes out in a few days. As does Sons of the Forest was the other one, wasn't it? Oh, Planet Crafter has come out. Yeah, let's go and put the Sons of the Forest. Sons of the Forest. Because if the Sons of the Forest has a dedicated server, then yeah, I'm going to be really rushing to add support for that to AMP. Yeah, I'll just take the existing config and modify it. It should be straightforward enough. There we go, Sons of the Forest. Yeah, I mean, this machine on right now is beefy. I mean, this thing's got a... Oh, it is on my wish list. Why is it not higher up? Let's move you higher up. And what was the other one? Planet Crafter. Yeah, rated as overwhelmingly positive. I wonder if this game has a dedicated server. What's ATS? Oh, American Truck Simulator. Oh god, yeah, half of those, whatever simulator games have like the worst servers. They don't have any real means of who's being a dick? I suppose I am. I was sat on the rails. Yeah, they don't have proper dedicated servers. They're just like making you run a copy of the game on a gaming PC that you leave running. And like, it's really stupid. Oh, I see, Mard. I didn't realize you didn't already use AMP. How did you find out about the stream then? Did you see it on Twitter? Below 1,000. Oh, stupid. Where's Steam gone? Yeah, Planet Crafter. Where's the community for this? View Community Hub. Roadmap and features. Was this even going to be multiplayer? Was this strictly a single player experience? Yeah, single player. Oops. Because I love multiplayer base builders, largely because they're the ones that make me money when they have dedicated servers. Yeah, Green Hell is one that, again, they has I don't remember if Green Hell was one that didn't have dedicated servers or that does but doesn't let other people have access to them. I know there's a couple like that. Scum was one that was interesting, where again they've got dedicated servers, they just don't let the average person set them up. Yeah, Kerbal Space Program 2 I'm looking forward to. And Sons of the Forest. I wonder if there's any word on whether Sons of the Forest is going to get... I forget which comes out when. One of them comes out on the 23rd, another on the 24th. Hello, Whiskey. One of my cats has just sat here. Yes, any backups in an instance will disappear when you delete the instance. There we go. So the Sons of the Forest comes out first on 23rd. Do you want to go out, Whiskey? Whisk. Whisk, I must show you to the internet. Oh. This is a Whiskey. This is the cat. He's a big boy. We all know the internet loves cats. Well, this boy isn't even a year old yet. Whoops, sorry, buddy. But yeah, he's a big boy. He's very I describe him as extremely food motivated. Ugh. There we go. Come up. He's called Whiskey, and he was originally a feral. He just started turning up as a kitten in our garden. Someone's trying to kill me. Oh, zombie villager, whatever. He's a very cuddly cat. Did you want out, Whisk? Tell you what I'm really liking actually is the microphone I'm using. I bought this thing, I don't know if how well you can see that with the background removal, deciding to remove what I'm trying to show you. But inside, you open this up, and there's a space there for the receiver, which I've currently got plugged into my machine, and these two little microphones that clip on. And you can either use the microphone on it itself with a little fuzzy noise breaker, or you can plug into them these little lapel mics. So it's a kind of really cute way of yeah, here we go. These are the how does the developer license? Developer licenses don't let you run AMP by themselves. What developer licenses are for is they let you run unsigned plugins, so ones that you're building yourself. Most people do not need to use them because you're unlikely to need to. But if you are a dab hand with C# and want to put together your own plugins, yeah, here we go. So this is what they look like. You can the case that it all comes in. The case is a battery as well, so you charge up the case, and then you put this in there, and you put everything in there to charge it up, and it's good for a few hours. Let's turn that off and go and get my stuff back. Oh God, where was I? Somewhere along the railroad tracks. But yeah, developer licenses are Oscar Mike. Yes, take a backup means make a backup. I don't know if that's like an English thing, like British English specifically. Sorry, that those two words can be used interchangeably. But to take a backup means to make a backup. Yes, I could rename it. Maybe I will to like create a new backup. I mean, I don't know much about the Discord bot plugin because I didn't write it. Does anyone remember the old Minecraft boosters you had to do with the minecarts that ran alongside them? The Road to Eden plugin. Is that a plugin or a generic config? I mean, because the answer is probably if it is a plugin, that it just needs to be converted to use the generic module instead, because there's not really much point in writing entire modules anymore. Wow, really? In that case, it should probably just be rebuilt as a generic configuration. Yeah, Miles, you don't need to be a programmer to add games yourself. If I go and pull up browser a second. So the configurations for new applications are just configuration files. So if we pick one for like Echo, for example, is it Echo or Eco? Must be Eco. Yeah, but you tell it, what platforms it supports. You tell it, what the executable for Windows and Linux is. You tell AMP how to update it. This one's actually got it embedded in it. Some of them use separate files to carry the update data. Oscar, you certainly wouldn't be like the only person who's like that, but it's the same as getting familiar with any piece of software, though. AMP isn't really that different. It's learning what's where and what it expects you to do is always new. So don't feel bad necessarily about needing a little help of instruction. It's one of the big things I think that separates AMP especially from the other options is if you look at like the pterodactyl community, for example, the developers do not like giving support to anybody that used an installation script, for example, to help make it easier. Because they go, well, we don't know how you set it up. You didn't follow our instructions. And then AMP is the other way around. I don't like helping people who didn't use the install script because the install script does everything in a consistent, reliable, and repeatable way. And it knows what it needs to do across different Linux distributions. It knows like how to use different package managers, blah, blah, blah. What's been interesting about the sale that started today was I kind of knew this was going to happen, and I actually said to my wife that I expected this. But it's always interesting to see it actually play out. Is that very few people are taking advantage of the sale to buy Pro for cheaper than usual. Most people who have taken advantage of it are actually using it to buy Network Edition cheaper. And I think a lot of those as well are people who aren't really into Network Edition or didn't think that they had a need, but are just like, wow, that's like such a good deal. Why would I turn it up? Even if they will never use more than half a dozen instances. I know there's a few people who do it just because they like supporting it as well. I mean, one of the interesting things is that actually not half, almost all of the regulars on Patreon have all the AMP licenses they would ever want. They do it because they want to support the software. And Patreon is like quite a big deal to the company financially. I didn't expect it to be. I expected to get like, maybe half a dozen. Maybe I'd manage a few $100s a month of revenue from it. But in practice, it's quite significant. Yeah, it kind of proved my point, doesn't it, Jack? People, a lot of them don't use more than the 5 in Pro. But half the point is I always wanted to make sure that, like MC My Admin, AMP was always cheap enough, or at least the basic version of AMP was always cheap enough that people who are like, oh, I don't really know what I'm doing, will have a go because they just go, well, even if I can't figure this out, it's only, it's less than $10. So what the hell? It can't be a big deal. Because I have considered like not bothering with Pro, getting rid of the tier entirely. Yeah, I wish I was making 50,000 a month from Patreon. No, that's The guy, the Sonic Escher guy who does the shaders, that guy makes bank from his Patreon, like to a really obscene degree. I know, right? Well, I was never into shader programming, actually. Not my forte, but to be fair, he figured out that it was actually something desirable enough that people would pay for it, which is bonkers to me. The reflections on the snow is part of the shader pack I'm using, so funnily enough, I'm using one of the Sonic Escher shaders. One of the ones that he gives away for free. With a texture pack called Spax Pure BD Craft. I mean, I like this combo. I think it looks good. The only annoying thing is I don't get the merged glass, which I'm quite fond of. You get that with the vanilla textures, but you don't get it with this one. And if I just go and where's the texture pack? Resource packs. Here we go. Yeah, so with the standard texture pack, the glass has these edges, but is otherwise see-through. It is an Optifine setting, but it doesn't work on all texture packs. That's the gotcha. Because I don't particularly like how, yeah, in that kind of, yeah. Whereas if I go, yeah, where's the resource packs? It's going to take forever now, isn't it? There we go. I just think this looks so much better. And I've been using this texture pack for donkeys. You do get some weird effects though. Can you see this weird artifacting? So like the other shader pack I've got. Video settings. Where is it? Shaders. Oh, I don't have the other one. Yeah, I mean, framed glass looks pretty good, but I would have liked to have yeah, this frame without, which doesn't have, this glass doesn't have any middles on this texture pack, and just have this look like one giant pane of glass, you know? Yeah, there's definitely some other games I wouldn't mind streaming. The only problem with streaming is it's quite a lot of it's quite a big time commitment, and you know I've got quite a lot on my plate as it is. Can I make this bigger? Yes, I can. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of people who you know, buy Pro, use it for a little bit, get bored of running game servers, and then move on to the next thing. But similarly, there's a lot of people who like get really into it. Yeah, like I said, it's cheap at the entry level, so that people just kind of go, you know what, sure, let's give it a try. Yeah, and because they've paid money for it, they're then kind of a bit invested in it. Yeah, they're not just going to instantly drop it. You do still get some kids, especially, who like they pick it up, run into some usually fairly minor issue, and then don't say anything and just open a payment dispute. And I reckon that happens like once every 2 months or so. Yeah, the community support is it's really handy because the community is pretty big actually, way bigger than the original MC My Admin community, and that was a big community by the standards of the day, just on IRC. Wife is messaging me. So there's one, Rogue. So what was it that prompted you to switch over, Rogue? Because a lot of people do that. They start with one and then kind of have some experience with it and then go, you know what, I'm going to try out this other option even though I have to pay for it. Like, what prompted that? While we're waiting for him to see that I've asked him the question. The devs, really? Can you elaborate on that? Were they like a pain in the ass? Were they kind of like, unhelpful, unsupportive? Because what's really cool these days actually is that if I where's a browser? I've lost my mouse cursor. I actually have no mouse cursor. That's irritating. There we go. I have to open an incognito window to get this to show up. And if I go to Google, game server control panel, and we turn off the ad blocker, nothing shows up. That's unhelpful. Yeah, there we go. The ad for AMP will show up for a lot of different queries. And it actually shows up reasonably high up in the results. So I'm reasonably pleased with that, actually. In fact, it shows up. The only one that shows up above it these days, really, is TC Admin. AMP has been climbing up and up and up the search rankings. So I'm pretty pleased at how that has come along. I really should make use of my Steam Deck. I should Stream Deck rather. Steam Deck gets plenty of use. My Stream Deck to do scene transitions and that. So then I could fade in and out my browser window or whatever. Yeah, because the thing is, one of the biggest differences, because AMP runs on Windows, you get a lot more in the way of people who are just running it on the same machine that they're running their games on, right? Whereas the other options that are Linux only, they don't do that. It requires that you have another system, right? So it discourages any kind of casual use where it's just like, yeah, I might just want to have a game server for a bit. And I think it's that casual aspect that lends itself to AMP having a very friendly community. Yeah, I mean, TC Admin is like really showing its age at this point, and AMP is very squarely pointed at knocking them out. And it's certainly a lot more limited than AMP is. It can't match AMP's plugin system. Because for those of you who are watching who aren't familiar with it, all of AMP's functionality comes from its plugin system. AMP does not have a file manager. It has a file manager plugin that it loads. It doesn't have a backup system. It has a backups plugin that it loads in. So most of AMP's, like, what you would think of as built-in and standard functionality actually isn't. It just is what's loaded by default. If you wanted to completely rip out the backup system, replace it with your own one, you can do that. Ice, I think you're talking about the TC admin software itself. When you're looking at it, it is fairly kind of dated looking. Yeah, and TC admin is certainly not as easy as click the big blue button that says create instance, where you then pick from a list of games, right? Yeah, because the fact that AMP, because funny enough, the way AMP originally started was it was originally just going to be a rewrite of MCMyAdmin. I thought, because MCMyAdmin was getting really difficult to maintain, it was super messy. Because the thing is, MCMyAdmin 2 was actually the same backend as MCMyAdmin 1. It just had a new, slightly nicer looking user interface on it that was inspired by the Metro, as it was called back then, design language. Yeah, bearing in mind this was in like 2012 or so. It's like 11 years ago. I would like to have a market of some kind. I don't know what that would look like. Yeah, see, that's the interesting thing, Techno. Like, it does happen occasionally. I think it depends a lot on what mood you catch everybody in, or the type of question you ask. Yeah, was it a question that could have been answered with a quick search of the knowledge base, for example? I've lost track of how many people have said, how do I reset my password, who didn't make any effort to look at the list of support articles, which is kind of frustrating. I think too many people make a habit of going straight for Discord these days. Have you seen, Oscar? Have you seen the installation videos? Because they really are like very simple. They work on the assumption that you don't have any idea kind of what you're working with. The Windows installer one needs updating though, because the Windows installer has been simplified massively. Yeah, exactly what. Yeah, I mean that one kind of again is a bit frustrating. It's like, okay, it tells you in big bold letters. I've not figured out. I've tried over and over again to figure out how to just make it accept special characters, and to escape them correctly, but it just does not work reliably. Yeah, and again, the what I would like, yes, is a way of doing password resets via the web interface. It's a bit of a pain because, of course, how do you do that if you've not got an email server set up? And how many of kind of casual users are going to do that? Now, frankly, actually, my I've actually got a new possible solution for Linux users who suffer from the password issue. And basically, it will not let you choose the password. It will just generate a random secure password for you. tell you what it is. The link it points you at will have the password encoded in it, and then the first thing it does during the setup process is say, "Hey, give me a new password," and then the problem goes away. Yeah, that's the problem. Is email setup. Like your average user is going to do that. The only other thing I could do is have a back-end service CubeCoders side that handles the emails for you, but making that secure is tricky. Man, Oscar Mike keeps getting caught by the filter. Yeah, I mean that's the kind of thing I want to make a tutorial of. Actually, Oscar was a video tutorial of this is how you take your existing Minecraft server and pull it into AMP configuration files and all, and indeed showing off the fact that you need to make sure that you're selecting the files themselves and not not everything else. Or the other thing I could do is make AMP be clever, but that's not really feasible because it requires that the file manager plugin knows about it. So I don't know. Yeah, importing configs could be really interesting. For templates, it's not going to be possible reasonably, but for things that use INI files or that use JSON files or some other sane, consistent data structure, the ones that are auto map basically. Yeah, Mild, you're kind of reaching on an interesting point there, is that of course a lot of the time especially if people taking in mind time zones and that, depending on when they come, it might not be me they speak to, it might be someone else. And while the people that I have as moderators are ones that I know will behave in a decent way, even when they're given annoying questions, other parts of the community I can't necessarily. I don't really feel any need to hold myself accountable to them, but really though, what I want to do is spend a few days modernizing the Discord bot, right? Making it so that when someone says, I need help, it asks them, GCuber. Well, there is an import option for Minecraft configs. If I go and pull my browser back up, if I go to my panel here, you can't see this pop-up, but it's a pop-up asking for my security key, which I can't plug in right now. So let's cancel that. I don't know if you guys have seen these changes as well, but can you see that these fade in now, which is kind of nice. But yeah, if I go to a server and go to Farm Manager, if you right-click on a server.properties, one of the options is import configuration, which will import everything that it sensibly can. Some of them it won't. Anything to do with a port number. Resource pack prompt I could add to that list. There's no reason why not. There's a few here that are missing. Yeah, I had to change the ADS module so that it doesn't try and, because AMP has two ways of initializing its user interface, the front end. It can either do fast or delayed. And fast, it shows what it can immediately and then allows all of AMP's plugins to just load after the main interface has changed. ADS, because of the amount of information it has to pull in, I changed it so that it always does a full load before it does anything. That's where you get that loading plugins bit. But that's why also, I love that effect where all the icons fade in. I need to change some of the layout here as well. This is kind of not great. And maybe I need to change it so it won't show multiple warnings like that. You should actually, if I go and if I go to TFS actually, and go and do this, should we do it? Yep. Now we can queue up an ARM build. Of course, I don't think you guys have ever seen this interface. This is my TFS installation. Yeah, I finally went up in the loft and sorted out the Raspberry Pi up there. I really want to change it. I've been really thinking about going and buying an M2 Mac Mini just to do that, and running there's a piece of software called UMT or UTM for Mac. Yeah, here we go. And UTM is pretty cool because it can use it works on Apple Silicon. And it can virtualize a Linux system quite happily. TFS. So that's not the current name for it, but TFS is short for Team Foundation Server. These days, it's called Azure DevOps. So Oscar Mike, that's because it doesn't change the name for you. If you make a simple trigger, it automatically makes a name for you based on what you asked it to do. Yeah, Ice just got you on that. I do want to. Thing is that internally, the simple time triggers are advanced time triggers. It's just another interface on the same exact system. Well, Mild, if you look at what I've got here, so like a normal end user would, you can let them access this interface if you want, but they would not have the ability to create an instance. So if you just locked them into a single instance, they would, you could just see this, and they would then have access to, let's go and update this Valheim instance, for example. Can you add back what have I just missed there? The real M18. Add back the telemetry back to ADS. That's all. Is that not there? Yeah, that's still there. Unless you're referring to something else. Or have I missed the plot a bit there? Oh, that never showed the system-wide usage. It just showed 0. It just didn't show any information at all, actually. But there will. But I do want to have something in to show. Yeah, it was there, but it didn't show you anything. But I do want to add something on the instances screen to show overall usage per target. So Mild, you can give users as much or as little in access as you like. So you could let users access this, but they will only see those particular game servers that they have access to. Let's show you real quick, actually. So if I go and make a new user, right? Let's go and change the password, and then go and edit the user's permissions. So if I go and say, okay, this user has access to just some of the Minecraft servers. And then I'll have to go and open if I go and add another one. Okay, so I've forgotten the bloody password already. Users. MAR 3LD. The other thing I need to do actually is give that user access to log in to ADS. Otherwise, they won't be able to do anything. So there you go, Mild. So that's a user that can only see a limited subset of what's there. And you can see all of the configuration. They can't really see much apart from these settings. They can't actually change. They're read-only. It won't work when they try to change the value. I need to change how those work to get rid of those, but in the future that'll happen. But you see how this user can now only access specific things. So that's how that works. And I can go back to go and delete that user. Disable. I always forget that as well. Save. Delete. There we go. They can start the server if that's what you give them permission to do. Yeah, the answer to can a user do that is did you give them permission to via the permission system? Yeah, because the permission system runs pretty deep. Yeah, lets you control each individual function and each individual setting. Yeah, and you can see here the audit log. This needs to change as well. The audit log is getting a rework to actually be able to search and filter stuff, because right now it's just a long feed. Yeah, I'm pretty pleased with this skin I've put together, actually, all things considered. I'm going to call it a day and not too long. Yes, Oscar, you can absolutely do that. So if you don't let them have access at ADS, but allow them to add to have access in the individual instance to the file manager, then yeah, they can add mods and that themselves. If you're allowing people to add mods and that themselves, though, I would recommend using Docker mode, which I am using for this, by the way, as it happens. So all of these instances are running in containers. to keep them isolated from one another. Yeah, I mean, you could do black instead of gold. Because this theme actually is one of the simpler themes, believe it or not, because it only uses like a very small number of colors. Yeah, you could make this, for example, if I... God. Chrome really chokes on AMP, though. When you open dev mode, it just takes forever to calculate the styles of anything. Ugh. Yes, you can mild. Yeah, so under... If we go to Valheim, for example, let's just open that one up. Chrome is choking on itself because I had the audacity to open the dev tools. If we go to the user management here and edit the permissions, app management, so you can control here whether they can start and stop. You can even give them permission to restart without giving them permission to start and stop, so they can restart if something's not working, but can't leave you with the server not running. Hello, Drax. Long time no see. But the other thing, mild as well, because of the audit log, you can see what whatever somebody has done. Give me 1 second, I've just got to close a window. Yeah, this is interesting. Banned IP address from further login attempts. Yeah, banned from SFTP ignoring the connection attempt. Also, my IP address wouldn't do you anything useful because it's on Starlink, it's CGNAT. My IP address is shared with a whole load of other people. Oh, I've been kicked for being idle. Are there still people here? Yeah, Drax is here. Drax is on the wrong server. Well, I said my current my IP address changes every day or so, I think. Drax, join the server that's one port higher up, 25566. Whiskey, what are you doing? My cat is making a mess of a green screen. I'm going to call it a day shortly, within the next kind of 10 minutes. Did we have any more questions or anything else people wanted to know about, talk about? My poor wife has been very tolerating of me doing this today. I've been working all day and she's basically just kept kept everything else at bay for me. Yeah, it's been 10 years. I mean, MC My Admin is like 13 years old or something like that. Left this bloody thing open, haven't I? Get rid of that. Oh, of course, I need to check if that build has actually been and run. The build failed. Oh, I see. There's a problem with the Linux builds. It's a problem with the Debian packaging. So what's it unhappy about? Syntax error. Ah, that needs to be a comma. Right. Okay, that was a... So let's queue that back up. Ironically, the ARM version built just fine because I didn't make any changes to the packaging. Jag. So I think that actually got implemented because it looks for that message where it says that it requires a certain Java runtime and tries to make the change automatically and tries again. God, the filter on Twitch is way oversensitive. It's censored LMAO. I'm like, really? No. Let's turn that off. Huh. Yeah, I would also like to do something so that when you pick an FTP server, it automatically handles Forge. It's a surprisingly pain in the ass, though. Not really sure what to do about some of those. Which side is that? Yeah, that's the bright side. I've got two massive lights in front of me to keep me well lit, even though it's like pitch outside. Drax just whispered a load of crap to me, not realizing that what he's whispering can be seen on stream. But yes, an underwater base, that's kind of my deal. But yeah, last call for any questions or anything else. When is the next stream? That's a good question. I have been mulling over doing a more regular stream, maybe a much quicker one that's focused, more now. I mean, today is special because, today is literally 10 years. It's crazy. I never thought I'd be doing this, running this company for 10 years. I mean, I never thought that originally back in the day that MC My Admin was going to make any appreciable money. And AMP makes way more than that ever did. Yes, there is a WHMCS module from AMP. Oh yeah, I'd love it if Microsoft bought me out. I would be beyond pleased if that happened. Do I have a 7 days to die config? Is this one like actually up to date? I'm just going to show you real quick, Mild, where's 7 days to die gone? Is it going to move it? Yeah, it's moved it. And if we do update, I've not actually played 7 days in ages. I only played it very briefly, actually, just to see what it was about. It's like, oh, it's Rust. No, not really. Yeah, almost all of the settings, I think, are actually in here. And of course, if you need to find something, the search box works really well. I've actually thought about changing a search box to being something you can pop up with a keyboard shortcut. Yeah, if I did like Alt S, for example, and it would always focus the search box, and then let you use the arrow keys to pick from it. So I thought that would be nice. So if you press like Alt S, focus on it, yeah, Control F. Well, actually, Control F isn't even daft as a thing, because if you go to the file manager, for example, and let's go to something that has one. If you go to file manager, Control F is hijacked here. So it's like, maybe I would make it hijack Control F when it's not in the file manager to jump to the search and to find things like that and let you just use the arrow keys. Yeah, make it so that when you press down. Oh, this was another thing I added in this update as well, was if you search for something and it doesn't know, then it tries to figure something out. So if you do, search knowledge base, didn't really help there. Actually, there isn't one called how do I change my login details? But either way, it will it makes a better go of trying to find something for you. The other thing I want to do though is these ones that are like game specific documentation, I want to try and make it not show those on the wrong server type. Because if I show these and someone's managing something that's not a Minecraft server, then that's not that helpful. But I'm still really pleased with my search because it's just so bloody useful. Yeah, let's see if that upload is finished. Yes, I believe it almost has. It's working on it. So I need to go and update the release manifest. Actually uploaded the main build already, so that can go out. It shows the actual 7 day to die console, so pull that back up. 7 days to die. So I need to update that because that is going to be way behind. About to mention 3,000 people. Yeah, AMP's one of the few that can actually show the Steam CMD output because of the fun hacks I use. I don't know if you have to manually update it, but you should be able to. It's probably the easiest way to do it is actually if you just want to update everything. There we go. Now if we start the server. The regex, the config for this could be modified to strip out the timestamp from the start of each line because it's not really necessary. Because AMP has a timestamp. Mild, yes, it is. You'd have to modify the configuration to accommodate that. But yes, that is absolutely possible. That's an interesting one, Ice. If there was the ability to pull in multiple of these config manifests, or you could you could tack on an extra config manifest for a specific mod if it requires its own. Oh well, there we go then. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. But as a more general purpose thing, it would be nice to actually have a way of just tacking it on. Oh yeah. I do like that though. That generic is flexible enough that people are using it in ways that I didn't anticipate. Yeah, there's your settings for Undead Legacy. What do you mean by flexible? Like, oh, executables. Yeah, I mean, there's reasons not to do that. I don't know. The only way I could think of doing it that might be sane is a more generalized thing that where it says the name of the executable that's going to be launched is tied to this setting, but it won't pull in the value directly. So it'll be like, if this setting has a value of 0, then it launches this executable. If it has a value of 1, it launches this executable, so on and so forth. So if something required a different executable, then you'd have to specifically say what the executable is for each given acceptable value of the setting, assuming that it's an enum from a fixed list. That would at least be relatively safe, because then you'd guarantee that it was only ever one of a fixed list of executables that won't change. All right, any more for any more? Otherwise, I think I really must call it a day. It's gone on 40 minutes longer than I really intended to. Oh, that's evil and pointless, and no, I will not merge those. You'd not use half the point anyway, because of course half the deal with AMP is that you get a GUI for the configuration, and Oh, I know. I'm sure that was a certain amount of dicking around. Can I do it? Going on there. Yeah, either Discord or the support board. This supports.cubecoders.com. I'm glad everybody's enjoyed it. How many people actually? Does it show you how many distinct people watch the stream? Yeah, it says there's 24 people here, but it doesn't tell me how many different people watched it. Ice, if you go to cubecoders.com/discord, I think it is actually. But I was reasonably happy with just discord.gg/cubecoders because that's what people expect to see. It's a shame that I can't get Discord to kind of, I don't know, the partner is not the word, but you know, the one where they actually recognize you as an entity. They seem to really refuse to do that. Partner program, yeah. Yeah, his server has been eligible for the partner program ever since it started, but they've always refused to pay any interest to it. So anyway, I'm going to sign off for now, guys. Thanks for all coming, and I'll catch you next time. Bye. There's another cat down here. One last thing. There's another cat. This cat is not as well. This is Casper. He's a bit of a sick cat, but he's lovely. Doodloo.